Academy episode 15.
I mean, going back to the numbers, you have to be profitable in order to be able to reinvest in your shop and create a nice environment. I mean, if you got a dirty floor that, hasn't been refinished in 20 years, makes a difference. If you want to attract the best talent out there in the industry, you have to have a shop that, looks like a place. I mean, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to work here every day. So, if it's dirty and it's dark, I mean, you just can't expect it. It takes time to kind of, get those changes in place, but, updating our software regularly, that's a huge thing these days. I mean, I want to have access to resources to do my job.
Welcome, automotive aftermarketers, to a Remarkable Results Radio Town Hall Academy. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to the matching audio podcast of the Town Hall Academy video on how to improve employee loyalty. This is Carm Capriato, your host. Each week we discuss a single topic with a panel of your peers and broadcast live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern on my webinar platform and on Facebook. You can learn all about connecting at this URL, remarkableresults.biz/townhall. See the show notes for this Town Hall Academy at remarkableresults.biz/A015. There you'll find my guests' bios and the episode talking points. This repurposed podcast of the video form makes it easier for everyone that does not have time to sit in front of a video screen or to be on Facebook. That's the power of podcasting, the digital audio broadcast that's so portable and easy to find. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn.com, and Podbean. Also, Player.fm, among others. It's always great when you subscribe to any of these services, and if you have my free iOS or Android app, you'll find the Academy episodes there also. Your colleagues bring these great insights in each episode. See, it is your peers who put on this tutoring and share their ideas, best practices, and passion on what works for them and where they've had their own successes and challenges. Mostly, we're here to spread wisdom and experience for the entire automotive aftermarket. Now, here's a cool idea. Schedule a lunch and learn with your team. Listen or watch the Academy episode together. Now, let me introduce my guests. Ryan Clo, owner of Dubworks in Cincinnati, Ohio, who also consults on systems and processes and teaches business management classes. Also, Dwayne Myers, partner in Dynamic Automotive, a 4-location automotive group in Frederick County, Maryland. Dwayne was honored in 2017 as one of 17 world-class technicians from AutoCare and ASE. And Jude Larson. Jude is the president, owner, and lead consultant for JML Real Solutions. He is a frequent speaker and trainer at industry events. Jude is also a shop owner and has been a highly successful service advisor. Now, here we go with the Town Hall Academy, how to improve employee loyalty. Hey, welcome everyone on Facebook and to the Remarkable Results Radio Podcast Network. And of course, another Town Hall webinar. We do it every Friday at noon. Glad to have you all here. And wow, what a great panel that I have. And we're here to discuss how to improve employee loyalty. Ryan, I'm going to give you the first question. Why is it important to have meaning in work? And I think the meaning ends up building loyal people, does it?
Being the person that does the human resources, I interview a lot of people. And so I get to kind of hear, what they say about the other places that they work. I think this is true across the board. People want meaning in their work. I mean, there's discussions on the, Generation Y and wanting to make an impact in the world. And it's not just about the money. I don't think anybody would disagree that, we're looking for some meaning. I think more in the automotive industry, traditionally, it hasn't really been discussed as much. Historically, it was just guys that liked working on cars. And if you love working with your hands, that's how I got started. That's a great, fulfilling need. And, that may be enough for some people. Although my experience, has shown that, these days a little bit more. People want to be part of something greater, part of something that's improving, doesn't seem static. I think the industry, 20 years ago was a lot more static than it is now, or at least there's the opportunity for change. So if a person has the choice of, working for a company that's, I don't want to say old school, but maybe more static, or a more modern company, it's with the times, it's inviting in technology, and it seems to be changing. That's part of the meaning,
Meaning in work, can you wrap that around vision? Can you wrap that around being a good leader? Can you wrap that around the why?
Yeah, I think the why is definitely really, really important. Anyone out there who's read Simon Sinek or listened to his podcast or his material, starting with why. Why are we here? I think there's a lot of different answers. I mean, a couple that come to mind, we want to make a difference in our community. This is a necessary service, or the trust is pretty low right now, and it has been for a long time. 50%, 60% of people don't trust. We want to help change the industry. That's certainly part of, I think, my current vision for my shops is to help kind of change our image. We're here because we like working with our hands, and we like cars. I mean, that's a culture I think you're going to find probably in a lot of shops. Hey, man, we're here because we love cars. So we love cars. We like our community. We want to be part of something new and changing that's dynamic. I think kind of wrapping that into a vision is important too. So those are just kind of a couple things that come to mind.
Thank you very much, Jude. Include them in what's going on. What are the steps that a leader of a business needs to take to get that full engagement?
They don't want to feel like an outsider looking in, and that can happen really easily with employees. And business owners don't necessarily mean to do it. They're just kind of moving ahead, because a lot of business owners have a more driver type personality or even a bit analytical. And so they don't necessarily think about the emotional side of employees and that sort of thing. I mean, you're not going to necessarily just open up, your QuickBooks to them and say, hey, take a look and tell me what you think. But at the same time, they need to know, what is the purpose? What are we doing? What is the business doing? Because most employees just assume that all businesses are making tons of money all the time, and the bosses are just kind of taking advantage of them or that kind of thing. They can get that kind of a mindset. So if you show them, a view or a vision of what the business needs to do financially, and then of course what that would mean to them if the business and when the business does that financially, you can get a lot of benefit out of that. So
are you sharing numbers every day or every week?
Yeah, in my business, we share numbers every day. We look at numbers every single day. And we do the same thing in many of my clients. They will actually report what happened yesterday and do an overall, where we are month to date, where we are for the week, where we are for the day, so that they have a really clear idea of what we've done and what we still need to do to where we're going to go.
So the numbers, here's a number. And we did X yesterday. Is there a KPI or is there a measurement that the team knows where they need to be? And then if they're not there, is there something the team knows on how to overcome or how to fix?
Oh, absolutely. We do projecting, because if you know by day 1, 2, or 3 of the month, you can already project out what your month is looking like depending on what's happening. And if they know that at the beginning of the month, there's something you can do about it. If you're the last 2 or 3 days of the month, it's a bit too late to try to correct if we've gone down a wrong path. So they're going to look at a lot of the KPIs, and they know the numbers. We go over them daily. They know what they're looking for. They know billable hours is one of the things that we're going to look at every single day, and know, what did we do today? What was our potential to do? What did we actually do? And what can we do tomorrow? And and that's how we plan as we book in all of this stuff. How you're going to know what needs to get done, what can close, what's going to close, and you plan out your day. It's almost like that old 80s Tetris game, where you're trying to put little pieces of the puzzle as they're moving into place. It kind of reminds me of that, because we're constantly working at fitting as much in as we can wherever we can to get as much done as we can to help as many customers as we can, and keep it all moving.
Dwayne, do your people know what success means to the business as far as, let me go tag on to what Jude just said about numbers. Do they know that if today we did, $5,000, that was a successful day? Do they understand that?
Yes, they do. They everyone has the opportunity to see at least point of sale numbers. And the management team for each of the stores has the ability for the accounting numbers and the KPIs and the benchmarks, and not only to make a certain dollar value, making it the right way, with the right margins and all, because you can definitely work hard and make no money. They've learned since we've opened up the books that working hard doesn't equal money. Working hard doesn't mean you worked hard. You need to work smart, and by giving them that access, they're able to work intelligently, and then they know when we are making money. And once we make money, they know we have more options, we have more growth, we can do more in the business for everyone.
Got it. Thank you so much. Now, I know, Dwayne, you're really big on employee development and education. Can you give us a synopsis as to why that is so important to improve loyalty?
The more you develop your people, the more benefit that goes to the business. By showing that you care, in turn, they're going to care about the customers more. My focus is on my people. And I know if I take care of them, we educate them, we train them, we teach them more. We teach them the different ways of doing business to where we're more successful. They in turn take it and then they add their own knowledge into it. It's amazing. I only have so many ideas, but when you put a group of people around you and empower them, it's amazing where your business can go. And you're like, wow, that was right off my radar. And it seems so simple, but it just took somebody else mentioning it to you. So if you open up, you get those opportunities to learn too.
One of my favorite quotes is, none of us is as smart as all of us. God, do I love that quote. None of us is as smart as all of us. So, Ryan, talk to me about creating the right work environment that improves loyalty.
It might be easier to say, like, I visit a lot of shops, and it kind of helps paint a picture of kind of what's out there. I mean, obviously the environment includes the physical environment, includes the people. I'll talk briefly about the physical environment. The workspaces, I think that's where I see kind of the biggest issues in the shop. If they're not well lit, there's not enough space to put, your materials and your tools on, not enough windows, insight to the outer world. And even like the front of the house, it might be really old furniture, outdated stuff. I think I've talked a few times about the design, and I think, people want to work at a forward-thinking kind of progressive shop, and part of that is the look and feel, of the shop. So, what do our uniforms look like? Do we have artwork on the wall, or is it a bunch of advertisements, from a parts store or something like that? So, and a work environment, also includes, the people. I think the people that we hire is a critical part of that. So being really, really selective about who we hire, trying to find people who are kind of on the same page and share our same values. Like I mentioned before, some people have, a love for cars. So if that's something, and I've seen people from both sides of the fence. I've seen people that say, I'm an automotive professional and I don't really, my car is just a car. I like people, or I like, the culture of this company, versus other shops are very, like, we all like hot rods.
But that's good. Whatever culture you have, you ultimately find the right people that fit in it. That's one of the keys, the team dynamics. Yes?
Absolutely. So, but it all contributes to an environment. What does the environment look like? You have to be, going back to the numbers, you have to be profitable in order to be able to reinvest in your shop and create a nice environment. If you got a dirty floor that, hasn't been refinished in 20 years, makes a difference. If you want to attract the best talent out there in the industry, you have to have a shop that, looks like a place. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to work here every day. So, if it's dirty and it's dark, you just can't expect it. It takes time to kind of, get those changes in place, but, updating our software regularly, that's a huge thing these days. I want to have access to resources to do my job. Another issue would be, not having the latest tools and equipment, or working on, and I've been in shops where they're using a Unix-based, the old black and green screen. Stuff like that where, I come in, it needs to look a certain way. I got to have resources, and I want to have people who are kind of on the same wavelength.
Thank you for that. Let me share with everyone here. You don't know this is coming at you. Obviously we take talking points for my guests, and we try to stay into that format because that's what they're passionate about. But every once in a while, I like to come up with something that you guys aren't prepared for, okay? Friend of mine, Tom Ham, he actually is a shop owner, been on the show before, and he leads and runs the Automotive Management Network. And he put out a survey recently, and the survey was about what do employees really want. And here was the number one result: appreciation for a job well done. Number two was, and you just said this, Ryan, correct equipment and tools. Number three was enough work. That's interesting, right? And so you got to be a good CEO and a good marketer, and you got to have good customer retention. And then the fourth one was a fair pay system. So, Dwayne, appreciation. You guys are big at that, aren't you?
Absolutely. We have a thing we call the power of gratitude that our business coach got us started in. We always for years focused on the customer, take care of the customer, take care of the customer. Of course, that's important, but now we're also doing that with our team. Take care of your team members. I think the saying is how your employees feel is how your customers feel. So when they're engaged, when they're happy, when they're challenged, they're excited about their work, and that will relate into the customer. So yes, it's great to take care of the customers. We need to do that, but really, if you take care of the team, they're going to do that for you.
You had mentioned, Ryan, I think it was you, Simon Sinek, Start With Why, the book. By the way, I'm reading it right now. Don't ask me why it's taken me this long. But here's a great quote from the book. Customers will never love your company until the employees love it first.
What he said about or the traditional has always been customer first. And there's always a lot of talk about numbers. And I have found through my own experience that sometimes when you get talking about the numbers, you can talk about the customers, really all three are important. At the Institute, we talk about the three-legged stool where you've got the customers and the staff and the business, and all of them are important. But in a way, the staff has to be a priority. I would put the staff above the customers, not to be insensitive, but the customer is a little easier to replace than a staff member. So, obviously customers are important. I'm not saying they're not, but I would agree with Simon that if the staff comes first, that will make its way out to the customers.
This is an open question for everyone. Why is this a difficult thing today?
Traditionally, a lot of industries, not just the automotive, have a kind of a backwards thinking, and they're thinking that what's making them alive or survive is the customer. And there's been a lot of even sales training for several decades that talks to that says, you've got to, the customer. That's where, they write our paycheck, they blah, blah, blah. And when you do that, it's like you're leapfrogging over your employees, who the whole point of you having them was so that they could take care of the customers in an extraordinary way, and then everybody wins. So when you just focus on the customer and you don't focus on the employee, you can miss the employee and only hit the customer. But if you focus on the employee, you're never going to miss the customer. You're always going to hit the customer if you focus on the employee, because that's what they're there for. That's why you brought them on.
Okay, so I'm getting emails. I'm subscribing to authors, and I want to be a great leader. And I continue to see all these great quotes from these wonderful authors and leaders. And I've just got a bunch of them here. From Jim Goodnight: treat employees like they make a difference, and they will. It's so hard, it seems, to pull the trigger and to say that that's going to be my company culture. Any of you experience that culture shift, and was it easy or hard to do?
I'll jump in since I'm sort of new to the shop owner part of all this, but I've worked with, lots of different company cultures over the years. But, we're definitely in that transition right now, raising up leaders. I mean, my team here right now is 2 rookie techs. And by the way, rookie doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You still got drafted into the NFL, right? Even if you're a rookie. So you're still a superstar. It's just you're a superstar in training. So 2 rookie techs, 1 veteran tech, and 2 rookie advisors. And with that team, we had a record-breaking month, the first month out of the gate. So, we have a lot of green material to work with. And, you can have some of that traditional thing where, there's the razzing of the new employee or the new technician, that kind of thing. And we don't tolerate that, so you've got to get in there and work with each person individually, work with them as a team. Right now, we're actually going over the book together on our, Friday lunches. We're going over the book, Extreme Ownership. You find stuff like that to help shift that culture to where everybody speaks the same language. They're all heading in the same direction. They know how to communicate with each other. That has a lot to do with training on different personalities, because they'll come in and think, wow, this person's really gruff, or they're really this, or they're really that. And it's like, well, your personality's this, their personality's that. What if you meet in the middle? There's a lot of different programs you can use to go through that kind of a process and to shift that culture to a place where it's a really good thing. And once you get it there, it's incredibly powerful. I mean, it just takes on a life of its own, and it'll just keep going in a positive direction as long as you feed it right, indefinitely.
Dwayne, share with us that culture that you guys have built there, and why it's just so important to the customer.
We were, I don't want to say forced into readdressing how we treat our people, but as we grew, there was 3 partners, but as we grew, when we built and opened our 3rd store, it was a very large store. It almost tripled our amount of our employees. We tried at first to where each owner was at a location, but as we got bigger, sales got more, there was more of a disconnect between the feeling of the community-based shop to just a business-based shop. So we had to change our culture and how we treated our people, and by putting more emphasis on them and training them and empowering them, they started to take ownership, so that feeling of a community shop came back. And we feel that we need that to keep growing, because we want to grow. We want more stores, but we want to still stay who we are. We want to stay that community shop where when you walk into the grocery store, you see people, you see customers, you want to go talk to them. You don't want to hide because, they had a bad experience at your store because it was all business. We don't want it all business. We want it personal. We want that relationship. And we couldn't do that when it was just an employee mentality. It had to be more of a team atmosphere where they were working together.
Thank you. Ryan, take me to the day that you were working on your employee first strategy, if you will, to make that this biggest part of your culture, and it clicked and you saw it blossom.
I would kind of lean back toward the human resources side of it. I think one of the key roles that an owner or the hiring agent takes is choosing the team. And I like what Jude said about, rookie doesn't need to be someone who's any less of the team. Like, I would take a rookie any day with the right attitude and the right personality. It's hard to change that. It really is. So I think I've been really fortunate to have gotten some really, really great people that we were able to kind of work with. But I think when you have people with the right personality, and there's no other opportunity other than like day one to get people on. Like, one of the challenges, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, when the shop grows and changes, not everybody wants to go along with that change, and that's tough. And we've had some people, we've tried to make it work, and most of the time it does, but sometimes they need to move on, and that's a good thing. It really is. If the shop changed and it's not what you signed up for anymore, that's fair. Let's get you at a place where you want to be, and let's get somebody else in here that kind of wants to be part, of what we're doing. So yeah, the people is huge. And I think a turning point, since you asked, Carm, would be when we first started having shop meetings. I think I heard Dwayne say on Friday, we were reading a book or something. We meet Monday at lunch. Everybody's welcome. It's not mandatory, but most people end up coming. And we talk about the week before and the performance. And yeah, we bring up the numbers, but I try to ask first, how did last week feel? How was it for you guys? I try to make that the first question. How was last week? How did you guys, how'd you guys do? And if they're feeling great, chances are everything else went well. And yeah, there's weeks where, the numbers were good, but man, it was really stressful. So we talk about how we can change that. So I think empowerment is probably another, concept that kind of comes into play to make people feel, part of the team. Are they empowered? Do they have the resources to do their job? Are they empowered to take action? Do we feel more like, we call it the crew, where King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table. Ideally, it's a team and less of a hierarchy. I mean, does there need to be a chain of command? Yes. Certain people have to have ultimate responsibility, but ideally speaking, we come in, everybody has a say in it, and they feel empowered. And we always give, appreciation. Hey, really great job last week on that difficult car or that sale you made that was great. So yeah, we try to focus on the appreciation and give everybody a voice.
Jude, how important is that extended family dynamic?
It's huge. It's what it's all about. We actually went last Friday night and had the whole crew over at my business partner's house for the evening, and spent the evening around a bonfire and grilling brats and talking and just having a great time. And we were celebrating our first month as this new organization out of the gate and just crushing it, because you've got to have those moments to build. And it was great because one of the newer guys, actually, I brought my projector. We put a movie up on the garage door and had a big, huge movie after we had done some other stuff. And one of them, it really blessed me. He stayed the whole time. He's the newest guy. And he stayed till it was like after midnight that we're, watching this movie together and stuff. And it was just great to be able to kind of bring that family atmosphere together. One other thing that I thought of, actually I didn't put on my list, but I thought of that is related to family is disciplining. I have teenagers, and so I know I've experienced some disciplining stuff in my life. It's a really big deal when you have an employee, especially when you're dealing with a lot of rookies on the team at the same time, when somebody makes a significant blunder, and it's going to happen. I mean, we all, even veteran people, make significant blunders from time to time. And so what do you do with that? If you go sideways on them, and because you're looking at the bottom line, you're realizing what that impact's going to be, and you freak out on them or whatever, that is super anti-conducive to what we're trying to do. And it can take a significant amount of time to recover from that. And the same thing would be with your own family. Speaking of, family that you're asking about, Carm, you have to, bring them in. You can't just let it go. It has to be addressed properly. But then what do you do with that? And if you handle it in the right way, you want to talk about loyalty. Because, there's times when somebody makes a big enough mistake, or they've made enough of them per se, that they're thinking, this is it. I'm gone. There's no way I'm going to recover from this one. And if you're in the right position and they're the right person, and it makes sense, and you can meet that with some grace of, that was a big mistake, and we're going to work with you. We're going to use it as a learning experience. And for me, when something goes wrong, I see that as an opportunity. That's like a check engine light coming on. It's telling me that one of my systems isn't working right.
It could be the greatest single piece of learning curve that anyone ever had, because you gave someone a second shot.
Yeah, and they won't forget it. Yeah. They won't forget it.
That's absolutely building loyalty. Dwayne, you have some opinions on making mistakes. How do you handle them?
Actually, I look at a mistake as an opportunity to learn. I really only have one rule, accept ownership of the mistake you made. If you've done that, then we can learn from it. And then it's worthwhile. If you've cost $10, $100, $1,000, as long as you accept that responsibility and we're able to do something with it and learn and grow together, then I can write it off as education. I'm willing to put investment. That right, exactly. Put it right on there. And I know, just like Jude said, they're going to remember that and they're going to learn. And the biggest thing is if you're too hard on people for making a mistake, they're not going to try. They're not going to make a choice. That's the biggest thing I always tell people, and something that was taught to me very young. Make a choice. If you don't make any choice, you're wrong 100% of the time. If you make a choice, you have a chance to be right. And really, I just tell them, have a reason for making it. And if you're on way out in outer field, fine, we'll talk about it and we'll learn. But I know you did it for a reason, so they're expected. I expect everyone to make mistakes, and then the general culture is, just to accept the fact you made it, and then from there, we're all going to learn something.
You guys are just meshing so well together. The right compensation, guys, how important is that for loyalty?
I'm not sure how much of this to say, because I know this is like public and everything, but let's just say there was a shop owner, and he frequently said to his employees, you need to work because I need to be at the beach. That's not the best motivational tool you can have. In fact, you might even build some resentment there. So they need to know that not only are they an integral part of what they do and what they're doing is important and vital to the company, they need to know that the harder they work, they're going to be compensated for that. So, I don't necessarily like a pay plan that is only, commission based or whatever you want to call it, because I like to have a little bit of some safety there for them too, so they feel secure that that's what I, as an employer, am providing you. That's why you would go work for somebody, because you don't have to worry about finding your next paycheck like a entrepreneur does, right? But at the same time, I want them to know that if you put in not just the time, but the smarts behind the time, working smarter, not harder, as we say so often, that you're going to be compensated for that. That if you come up with an idea, you come up with a way to do things better, and it affects your impact, and you can produce more and the company makes more, then you are definitely going to make more because of that. And that gets them thinking in the right way and focusing on, how can I better serve the customer? How can I better, evolve the systems in our business and all of that stuff so we can do more.
Got it. Thank you so much. As a consultant, Ryan, and you're out there seeing shops and talking to them, without sharing any major secrets, what would be a plan, a compensation plan to help build loyalty?
Well, I think Jude touched on it, and what he described is what I would call performance plus commission. And that's what we do in most of our shops and my shop as well. Like he said, I mean, people want a base. In the case that you're slow, which, I mean, marketing, I think ultimately falls, on the owner or the management of the shop to keep that busy. And that's interesting that you said third or fourth down the list, people want enough work to do. So, and appreciation. So, appreciation comes in a lot of ways. I mean, I think there needs to be, verbal appreciation and noted. And I've had a lot of people say that the money doesn't matter. And I believe that. And even if it matters nothing, it still is a representation. Like, nobody wants to be a top performer and not get the top performing money, even if they're like living way under their means. I think it was Steve Jobs, that went back to work for Apple, and then there was some disagreement with what he was paid. And he's like, hey, I'm doing a really great job. I deserve to be making X, Y, or Z. And even though he didn't need any money at all, it was still kind of, I think I got that story right. But so yeah, I mean, a sense of appreciation. I'm coming in here, I'm doing, what it is that I enjoy. I want to be appreciated. But yeah, the compensation, and I do think that our industry is a little bit low on the compensation. I mean, I think in Cincinnati in the Midwest, the average technician salary is barely $40,000. So for the kind of work that we're doing, where you have to be very physically strong, like a lot of other jobs, but also you have to be on top of it mentally with all the technology, it's just not enough. So I think the shops who are going to be on the leading edge, the compensations, it's got to be a lot more than that. And we need to charge. And that's why we go back and we focus on the numbers. And some people don't understand, like, why are we talking about the numbers all the time? Because, like, as all you business owners know, like, there's a million places that all those dollars go. So you got to kind of track it.
Obviously, if you're making a great, strong double-digit net profit, that gives you the strength to pay the technicians. That increases loyalty. It's a sustainable competitive advantage if you can have stability in the team. And they're so committed to their continuous education and buying their own tools or working with you on that weekly basis, on your strategic plan, on everything you do, on your focus on the customer, your focus on quality of work. What's wrong with that picture? And I know we may be going off on a slight tangent, but it still has to do with, if you have the right pay program, you build loyalty. Is there pushback when you try to design and lay up these plans?
Sometimes, if they don't fully understand it, obviously they'll go, huh? Or if they think it's unrealistic. A lot of times as a consultant, and even right now as a new shop owner, there's transition going on. And so, I'm thinking of one client I've been working with now for almost 2 years, and we were doing a lot of transition in their business, and we still are. And so we had bonus programs put together that we were ready to launch to everyone. And unfortunately, there was a bit of a tragedy that happened inside the business, and that shifted things significantly. And so we had to, on the fly, quickly come up with another program so that we could restructure things. And then we're just now getting on the other side of that to where we'll be able to implement these programs together. So you can certainly get pushback from individuals, from a situation. I mean, the business alone can give you pushback even as its own entity. But definitely you can get pushback from employees. And usually, though, that's because they don't understand it. They don't see that it can actually realistically happen, because sometimes your goal is to stretch them. Like, they're doing this, but they could be doing this. So what's it going to take to get them there? And this is the motivational thing. So a little bit of them might go, well, wait a minute, I can't see that right now, especially if you're, a big thinker or visionary person, like I've been accused of being. You have these big, things, and you're kind of spooking them. They're like, hey, man, I'm just fixing cars. What are you talking about? That's crazy talk. And it's like, no, that's where we're going. That's where we're going. So you have, so if you go too much too fast, it can, and then that even can happen when you're consulting with somebody. Sometimes when I go in, and you're looking at, what a business can do potentially, and you show them the full potential, and they're like way over here somewhere, it freaks them out. They're like, what are you talking about? That's not even on planet Earth, So you can get pushback, from that regard too, when you're trying to go to an owner and say, hey, there's a lot more money you could be making doing this, and all of your staff and, everybody involved.
Compensation and plans, Dwayne, what do you got going there without getting specific for us? You believe in that?
Well, actually, I believe what both Ryan and Jude were saying. You need to pay, good money for good talent. There's no doubt. But I also believe that there's small things you can do on top of that really make the difference, that make it special. Carm, we go all over for training, and we rotate around the company. We have 30 some people, so we can't take everybody everywhere. So we do it in rotation over the years. And a lot of times we try to take one of the owners or a manager if we can, and we'll go, like when we go, we're going to Auto Mechanica in a couple of weeks. Hopefully we will find something to do with them. Last year we were at Ratchet and Rents, and me and my service manager went and had one of the best steaks you could have in Chicago. That little things like that, when we went to Vegas, we've taken them out to see concerts, to go to Hoover Dam. Little things that, yes, it doesn't always cost a lot, but when you're spending your time and you're making memories.
I met 4 of your techs at Vision this year.
Yeah, and I no owners that time. It was just 4 of them, but they love Vision. They fight over that place.
And oh, by the way, I could be had for a good steak. I just want you all to know that. Okay, mentoring. There's nothing like having somebody care about me and, give me an outlet to go to if I need help. Is mentoring important for employee loyalty?
I don't think anybody would disagree with that one. I think I was very fortunate along the way. I had a lot of people that I would consider mentors. I was never afraid to ask questions. I didn't have, the big ego. Wasn't afraid to learn. And it's really nice to be in a position now to be able to kind of, pass some of that along. Some people are more receptive to it than others. And, I think from an employee standpoint, it depends, where the employee is at or where the crew member's at, like in their development. If someone's kind of on if they're an A player, maybe there wouldn't be a whole lot of mentoring. It'd be more of a kind of an equal view kind of thing, but let's stay on top of training and all that. My door is always open. Anyone that needs to talk to me or wants to talk to me is willing. I've been a technician, I've been a service advisor. So, if you want to talk about it, I'll give you my advice. I have to admit, as a technician, I'm about 10 years, out of date, so I can't really do a whole lot of mentoring, in terms of being a technician. But I'm still willing to, offer my opinion, if you want to call that mentoring. If people just want to have somebody to bounce something off, I think that's definitely, just having open communication. But I think it really comes back to the culture. We like to say we don't do a lot of ego here, and I think that's a huge part of it. It's the person who's lost and won't ask for directions, So we want to be helpful without getting in your way, kind of situation.
Dwayne, have you ever just had a chance to sit down with an employee, a team member, and they came to you not only for advice to mentor personal situations, their struggles at work?
Absolutely. Of course, unlike I'm sure they have, is an open door. If you have an issue or problem, you come talk to me, because home life, family life, personal life, work, it's all the same. It's all mixed together. If you have a problem at home, it's coming to work with you. And unfortunately, if you have a problem, eventually it's going to land on my doorstep. I know this. So if you want to talk, I've had people come into a sum of money from a settlement, and they're like, well, what can I do with this? And I'm like, well, let's talk about your retirement. What do you have set aside for the future? We're open, and they want to talk to you because, one, the respect's there. They figured, you're a successful business owner. They should have, some knowledge. So you try to help them as much as you can, but really you just sit and listen to them. It's so important just to take the time to listen to what their needs are. And as far as mentoring, even you can be at the bottom, you can be a quick lube tech, working your way up, through service as a technician. As long as you want to grow, there's always mentoring that can be done. I have some ATECs and all that want to run shops, and that's when I tell them that, we got a lot of soft skills to work on now. Technicians aren't always known for being for their people skills, and but I've seen some great leaders come out of that shop, just by taking the time to teach them how to talk to people.
So when the guy came to you with a settlement, did you ask him to become a partner and open the 5th shop?
His stress level already is high. I'm trying to lower it.
Carm
that might have done him in.
I had to take that. I just had to take that. I'm sorry. Okay, accommodations. Employee loyalty. Ryan, you were saying earlier that the place has got to be good, look good. You got to have the right place. Is there anything else besides the strong, on top of the strong environment, is the accommodations? I'm talking lunchroom, locker room, data room, technology room. Have you heard, are you doing any of that?
Well, I was just going to say, so many buildings are opportunistic. I've seen so many shops and some of them have a lot of extra space. We kind of got to take what we can get sometimes. We found an old Saab dealership, which was tremendous, a huge building. So we have a full break room. There was a massage chair that was for the customers. So we yanked that and we put that in the employee room. So that's for the staff. So we have a massage chair. I guess I don't even know how much this thing costs. I'm sure it was real pricey. We also have a flat screen TV, which we just hooked up the other day and tried to, make that part of our training room. Accommodations, a kitchen I think is really important for people that want to do their own lunch. We're kind of getting ours in a little bit better shape. Accommodations, like not all shops let people work on their cars after hours, which I think is crazy because they got their tools there. And I think, Dwayne touched on it. It's more than just that. It's kind of the benefits. It's like, okay, there's a comp package and then there's benefits, but, what about the shop itself? Can I work on my own stuff there? Do I feel like it's my home? Is there a place that I can hang out that's undistracted? Is there a kitchen? Is the bathroom clean? Is there a massage chair? Stuff like that. So.
Oh, the bar has been set.
Yeah. And a lot of shops don't. They're tiny and they got a little hole in the wall. And if I got to get my lunch, I'm eating in my bay or something like that.
Even if the shop isn't conducive to all of that, you can still do some things to show that level of care and accommodation. There's still things you can do.
If everything else is perfect, there'll always be something missing. You can pull out a fold-up table. We have a little table with an umbrella. We brought it inside in the winter, and it's like we were sitting at this like tiki table with an umbrella inside. It was kind of fun, whatever. It can be creative.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you just mentioned it. Have fun. Is that a good part of the culture, Jude?
It better be. Connecting, having fun with what you were just talking about. One of the things I like to do is create what I call it an employee lounge. The ones that I like, and I've helped design a few for clients and things, is it's almost like going into a Starbucks. And it's right inside your building. It's one of the offices. Here we're working on that right now. Actually, we had 2 offices. I put all of this stuff is in one office. So next door is opened up now, and we're building the employee lounge. It's a place, you put couches in there. You put some of the high, chairs with the stools and that kind of thing. Lunch stuff, flat screen. We can use it for training as well. But it's somewhere where they can have fun and they can actually relax. They don't know this yet, but I'm this close to bringing in the foosball table and putting it over there, so we can have a good time. And the massage chair, though, that one I had not thought of, I will admit, and I am all over that. That is a brilliant idea just for me.
Oh, I didn't buy it. It was already here.
I'll buy one. I don't care. Those things are awesome.
Yeah. We on the game idea, our guys, I paid for a basketball hoop and they put it up on the outside. So that's a pretty easy one if you got a back side of the building and guys like to play basketball. In the Midwest, we have a game called Cornhole. I don't know if you guys know what that is. You throw the pool bags. In the winter, we'll set that up inside the shop, although it hasn't been used in a while, but it's there. Just adding to the
we just had it a cornhole event the other week.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
You'll Google it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, Google it. You'll get it. And you go buy it, and you guys will start throwing the bags around. Who was it that mentioned Starbucks? Oh, it was you, Jude. I remember knowing that Starbucks, I believe they call themselves the third place. They want to be the third place in your world. Home, work, Starbucks, because they've brought the environment of Starbucks to the point where you just feel so good being there. I guess they figured out the right colors and the atmosphere to make it work. So that's a cool concept of having a Starbucks style meeting place or lounge.
And it really works because the first client that I ever did that with actually had, we call it the war room. It's the great big meeting room where all the owners would sit and we'd strategize everything. And that sort of got adopted as the lunch room. And I was saying, guys, listen, you can't, it's too mixed. You got guys in here eating cheeseburgers and we're trying to strategize, taking over planet Earth at the same time. So we separated that out. But what we didn't want them to feel was, you get the plain white room, you're not important enough. So the employee lounge is actually nicer now. of a place to go hang out than the owner's room was. So it's extraordinary in there. I love it.
One of the walkaways that I have that I wrote down was that we need to do another show because there's something we really didn't cover. And I think if I ask you this question, it'll go on for 20 minutes, and that is hiring for team dynamics. That's a subject that we should really get into in a single show instead of asking it now. And I'm more than happy if you all come back, say in 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, and we'll split this thing up and we'll do that. So let me just throw that up as an offer. But my final question to you all, in creating good team dynamics, is have you shared, and Jude, you I think mentioned this earlier, any books that you have asked your people to read that you've read together that are part of your book club that help build great team dynamics?
That's the one we're currently doing. Other ones that we do frequently is Leadership and Self-Deception. That's an incredibly powerful book. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. That's a great book. It has an assessment that you can get it on like audio format for like $8 on Amazon or something ridiculous. If you go buy the assessment, it's $40 online, but if you get a free assessment with the $8 audio version, so there you go. But we've gone through that with one of my clients. And we do it twice a month. We have a lunch meeting, and we go through this section. It's a big book. It's robust. There's a lot of information. It's incredibly helpful. I mean, I'm getting to see, people transforming. And the cool thing is, like you mentioned before, when you help somebody at work, you're not just helping them work. You're helping them at home at the same time, because they don't just learn this stuff and only apply it at work and then go home and still be, a mess. They learn and they grow and they go home and they come back and they share with me, hey, guess what happened to me last week? We talked about this, and I went home and this happened. And now it's gotten to the point where they love sharing. They love bringing up, the things that they're seeing in life that are changing and shifting. And so that's another key one. How about you, Ryan or Dwayne? You guys got any hot ones?
The two standard ones that come to mind that I recommend for clients would be Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a classic. Personal life, work life. I mean, if there was one skill in life to master, psychology. I mean, we're working with people. The more you understand people, you can relate to them. I think it just benefits everybody. And then the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, whether you're a technician or an advisor or an owner, time management's key, and being able to manage your time. So there's so many. It's hard to only pick a couple, but those two are my top standouts.
And How to Win Friends and Influence People that Ryan just said. I coach Dale Carnegie. I'm not the teacher, but I'm one of the coaches. I've done it for a while, and I've been rotating my people through the classes because it's so mind broadening. And that book you can read that once a year and not get any and not be a waste of time. The other one right now, my business coach Mark Luderman has Abe's Final Masterpiece, which is a lot about development, personal development, and about development as far as building relationships and with customers and all. And that's been a good read that I've recommended for my guys.
Thank you guys so much. What an enlightening town hall webinar. I learned a lot, and I believe so will our industry as they continue to watch this over the weekend on Facebook Live and on my YouTube channel, remarkableresults.biz/learning. Thank you so much to Jude Larson, to Dwayne Myers, and Ryan Clo. I so appreciate all your great wisdom. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Carm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jude. Thanks, Dwayne.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time,